Hi, I'm Rodney Johnson, president of HS Dent, and we've had a lot of questions in our shop about QE3, quantitative easing 3, and what it means. What's it supposed to do? What's the effect going to be? Well, first you have to know what the program is. Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, came out and said that they're going to print $40 billion a month in new money, and yes, I know they don't really print, it's actually an electronic transfer, and they're going to use that money to buy agency-backed mortgage securities. That means they're going to use that new money that they create to buy bonds that are backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, the purpose that he said he had was to lower mortgage rates. Lower mortgage rates. Well, why would you do that? Well, if you lower mortgage rates, then potentially people will be more inclined to buy homes. Rates are lower. People can afford to buy more home when they do buy. And if they're buying more homes, then more homes will be built. You'll put more people back to work building homes. You'll get back that middle income sector that you've been losing in people who are involved in construction and home flooring and all the things that go along with it. But does it make sense? I mean, ask yourself, how many people do you know, how many people have you met that said, you know, I'm waiting to buy a home, I'd like to buy a home, I'm qualified to buy a home, but I think interest rates at 3.7% are just too darn high. How many people say that? That is idiotic. Interest rates, certainly rates on mortgages, are not too high. And moving them from 3.7 to 3.5 or 3.4 isn't going to make any difference. That's not what's holding back home buying. People aren't buying homes because they're not in a place to buy a home or they can't sell the home they have, whatever other reason, but it's not the interest rate. Now, to say that it's not going to do what the Federal Reserve wants doesn't mean it won't have an effect. There's no question this will have an effect. So you start to ask, what's going to happen? The first is the people that get the money first are going to do quite well. That means the people who are selling those agency-backed mortgage securities. That would be the people who own them. It's not typically individuals. Most people don't own agency-backed bonds. Those are going to be owned by pensions, insurance companies, and sovereign wealth funds, people like the Chinese. They didn't buy just U.S. treasuries whenever they had a bunch of money to invest for all the money that we plunked into their economy through buying their exports. They bought other things that got them more yield, like Fannie Mae bonds. If you reach way back in your memory to 2008, when the U.S. government took over Fannie and Freddie, what they did was they said that the common equity was going to go to zero, preferreds were going to go to zero, but the bonds were going to be paid at 100%. And back then, it was a pretty big deal that one of the larger holders of Fannie Mae bonds was the Chinese. They just got quite a boost. The man on the street, not so much. Somebody else gets a benefit here. It's the people who traffic in these bonds. You see, the Federal Reserve doesn't buy things from just anyone. The Federal Reserve can only buy things from people who have an account with them. That would be large banks. Because the way the Federal Reserve buys things is it credits someone's account. They just hit a keystroke to increase your account, but you have to have something to deliver to them. So the large banks that have these accounts at the Federal Reserve act as the pass-through. If they want to buy Fannie Mae bonds, then these large banks will go out in the market, see what they can buy them for, and make an offering to the Federal Reserve. They become kind of a broker. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what they are. So these large banks, the very ones that caused such a problem, that have been a problem all along, that got a big pass back in 08 and 09, are about to earn a commission on $40 billion a month. Yep, somebody's about to get a lot of help. And by the way, it gets better. When Ben Bernanke announced all of this, he went to his press release or his press conference and he said, I want to address some concerns before I take questions. One of the concerns was that this was going to increase the federal deficit. He said, no, it's actually the opposite. You see, whenever the Federal Reserve has excess cash, it has to send it to the U.S. Treasury. So if we have a lot of extra excess cash, we actually send a lot of extra money to the United States government for free. So that actually lowers the debt. It lowers the deficit. Now, in numerical terms, he's correct. As a matter of fact, last year, the Federal Reserve handed over to the U.S. Treasury over $75 billion. But where did they get it? They got it from me and from you. They got it from all of us that already hold dollars. Because the way they got the money was they created these dollars out of thin air. They went and bought securities like these agency-backed securities or treasuries or whatever else, and then as they earn interest on it, they give it to the government. Every time they print dollars out of thin air, they take some value from all of us that are savers. That's how it works. And so they print money out of thin air, take it from us, buy something, and then hand all the excess money to the U.S. government. So in effect, it's an unvoted tax on all of us as savers. That's brilliant. Now he said there's something else. Savers are very concerned that they're getting hurt by the exceptionally low interest rates because the Federal Reserve is holding rates very low. They set the short-term interest rates, which are near zero. Anybody with a CD of 1 year or less, anybody with a savings account, knows that you're not getting any interest whatsoever. And he said they're going to hold these rates low until 2015. 3 more years. 3 more years of earning nothing on your short-term interest-bearing accounts. And then they're using some of their money to buy longer-dated treasuries to push down those rates even further. And so they're trying to hold everything very low, even though inflation's running 1.7%. And what did he say about this concern that savers are being hurt? Well, yes, they are, as a matter of fact. He acknowledged that people that own these are hurting because they're not earning the rate of return that they should. His justification was, well, the broader economy's better off. So all of you that are on fixed income, all of you that have a savings account, all of you that aren't getting the interest rates you deserve because the Federal Reserve is holding them low by putting their boot on them and pushing them down, thank you very much for holding up the broader economy, or at least from his standpoint. And I mentioned just a minute ago that inflation's running a little bit higher. Yeah, when you print more money out of thin air, you push up the cost of food, energy, healthcare, all sorts of nifty items, the ones we use to live. So if I got this right, then we're not going to get a boost in the economy because the people who are getting the money are the ones that own these types of bonds, and they're not really doing anything for the economy in the first place. Mortgage rates going a little bit lower aren't going to help anyone because they were already low, but we are going to have exceptionally low rates so that we're not earning much of anything. We do give more money in commissions to the banks along the way for as far as the eye can see, and yes, we get inflation. So in terms of QE3, welcome to the future. It doesn't look like it's going to be any fun.